commitment of our people who volunteer their time and talents to make our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family. We know that we alone cannot meet the challenges or provide sufficient inspiration without community involvement and the dedication of all concerned to the greater good of the city and all who reside in it. We are thankful for the beauty, the time, and the place that is Frostburg. Amen.
Please be seated. We'll now call the roll.
Commissioner Donnie Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsythe. Here. Commissioner Kevin Grove.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie.
Here.
And Mayor Todd Logston.
Present. Okay. We're going to ask for, we'll go next to approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Agenda is approved. Move on now to approval of the minutes from the June 18th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the last meeting of June 18th. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Any special presentation or request?
There are none tonight, Mayor.
None. Okay. We'll move on to then item number 8, which is reports from city departments.
First, we'll have Department of Community Development give their report.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to give you a highlight reel of the detailed report that we submitted to you all. So in terms of code enforcement, we had 13 new violations this month, mostly high grass. It is the season, even though it hasn't rained. Untagged vehicles, garbage, those are typical. We also did 18 permits in the month of June. Lots of fences, again, 'tis the season. We did 2 residential use and occupancy permits, and one noteworthy renovation permit that we released was the Hill Street School, which will be converted into residential dwelling units. We also issued 3 certificates of appropriateness through the Historic District Commission. 2 of those were full reviews from the commission. 1 was a staff approval. And just some other notable things that we worked on last month. We kicked off our comprehensive planning process. We had our kickoff meeting with the consultant. Really looking forward to diving into that. We also submitted a grant application to DHCD for strategic demolition funds that would support pre-development activities at the North Water Street townhouse site that we've discussed kind of here and there over the years or over the months. But we're actually moving forward with pursuing grant funding to make that happen. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that is the summary of my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance.
Good evening. June is the last month of the city's fiscal year, so happy new fiscal year as we're into July. The monthly budget report and the balance sheet that are presented as part of the Finance Department monthly reports both note that audit adjustments for the year ending June 30, 2024 are incomplete. This notation will continue to appear on upcoming monthly reports as the audit adjustments for the prior fiscal year continue to impact account balances that roll forward into the new fiscal year. All the year-end accruals and adjustments are not posted as of the preparation of these reports that you have in front of you this evening. So please be aware that the year-to-date percentages on the budget report do not reflect the complete activity for the fiscal year. The tax report for the month of June also reflects the write-off of uncollectible corporation and personal property taxes that were approved by the mayor and council at the work session in June. This covered 9 different business entities. The human resource function of the finance department in June included the onboarding of 22 seasonal pool employees and 8 day camp employees. We also added the seasonal function for the daily financial reconciliation for the pool activities, as well as having an abundance of pavilion and facility rentals in the month of June. The Finance Department also conducted insurance open enrollment for the new plan year during the month of June. Our plan year begins July 1, consistent with our fiscal year. This was a significant undertaking this year as we transitioned from our previous fully insured health insurance plan with Cigna to a self-insured plan with WellNet utilizing the Aetna network. We also completed the insurance renewal process for the city for property, liability, and workers' compensation policies in June. And June is the start of the second quarterly utility billing cycle of the calendar year, during which time about half of the city's quarterly customers were billed. And we continue to make plans in preparation for the transition to monthly billing, which will be occurring for all customers at the end of 2024. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Have you gotten any feedback from people about switching to the monthly billing?
We have had questions about how it's going to work in the process. We will be including an insert in the September billing as the first official notice to customers that this is the last normal quarterly bill that you will see, letting them know that everyone will get a special billing in December with the full transition to monthly billing in January. So I think the word is out there and people are asking questions. No one has expressed any particular happiness or discontent about this change at this point. We are encouraging people, though, to continue. Please sign up for e-billing, both for taxes and utilities, because with the increase in the mail volume, the increase of cost of postage, it really will be a savings to the city for every bill that we can email that we aren't buying the billing paper, envelopes, postage, staff time.
Sure.
So continue to promote that to anyone that you have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Public Works.
Yeah, so within the Public Works Department, obviously we have a couple different groups. So I'll start with the Water Department. Within the Water Department, we haven't been taking on too many projects, just given staffing at the moment, but there are majority of the time we have spent just doing city maintenance, fire hydrants, busted water lines. We only had 2 leaks of note, really. We got them under control fairly quickly. The bulk of the work that the guys were doing during the day for the past month was finishing up Centennial Hill water line, helping the contractor make those final tie-ins, get the water on, get it chlorinated, and finished. Within the street department, majority of what we've been doing has been pothole patching, street maintenance, and then catch basins and water removal in certain areas around town. Basically just street and sewer maintenance. We haven't had too many sewer backups, however we did run into one 2 days ago that we're looking at starting on now. As far as Public Works is concerned, that's where the bulk of the project planning and project management has occurred. Just paperwork-wise, we've been working on the LCCR report. That's the lead and copper compliant report for the state of Maryland, which is also mandated by the federal government. Putting that together, finalizing it, putting it into the format that they like. The new salt building is underway. It's still moving according to schedule. We anticipate that being ready to go by mid to late September in order to have salt in it this winter. The Mechanic Street parking lot is moving along, still moving ahead of schedule actually at the moment. That's going fairly well. Centennial Hill water line is complete. We do have some final restoration left to do, some seed and straw. Given the current climate, it's going to be tough to get grass to grow, but we have stabilized it. We do intend to make a few more improvements to the road, but for now, the skim coat is on and the potholes are patched just for the sake of getting us through to the next step of the paving project. We are beginning to look at the next portion of the timber management plan at Piney Reservoir. This plan is most likely going to be a firewood thinning, not necessarily a large timber harvest, but we're not 100% sure yet. The daycare is underway, moving along, slightly behind schedule, but we still should make our deadline to get the kids in for the school year.
That's August.
August 1. Yeah. So the Bureau of Mines building, that's something that is slightly new, but moving along. We are looking at building a new garage, which is the outdoor covered storage for the Bureau of Mines building that we owe to the Armory. The Bureau of Mines is paying for it. We are just managing the construction. Let's see, the CSO projects, the only one currently underway is CSO 10A. I'll talk more about the CSO projects in the CSO report. We are monitoring Piney Reservoir and our other sources of water all day, every day, given the weather conditions at the moment. The paving contract was the bulk of what we just finished as far as paperwork goes, and we are looking at awarding that bid here tonight, which we will talk about more later. And then we have been looking at the parking plan, which we will talk about more tonight. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to dig into
If we
anything.
could look back to street maintenance for just a second. When you and I were riding around the other day, and I think we talked to Gene or one of the guys about the issue up on Victoria where it was cracked around the, you said it was probably still under warranty. Have you heard anything from that?
Yeah, so actually the contractor who paved that last year is the contractor we're using this year. So
Okay.
we'll touch base with that touch base when they're in town and working.
When they
with
come
them.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. Any others?
No, that's it.
Next, we would entertain a motion then to accept the city reports.
Make a motion to accept the city reports.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept the reports of the city departments. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Accepted, thank you. Okay. Moving on to then item 9, public hearings.
I'll hop back in. So for the combined sewer overflow monthly public hearing, as I mentioned before, the only one currently under construction is CSO Phase 10A. We will have a change order to discuss later on about that project, but for all intents and purposes, that project is moving along very well. We should be out of the street way before the school year is back in, which is a good sign. And that project is staying on budget, moving ahead of schedule, and moving along well. Phase 10B and 10C are just about 100% done design. We'll be able to send those to MDE really anytime now, get approval from MDE, take it to bid, get a bidder sometime this fall, take it back to MDE, get those approved, and then hopefully have a groundbreaking in the spring of 2025. Additionally, our other smaller CSO projects, Phase 9C and 8D, are also moving along. We have reason to believe that we should get favorable funding from CDBG. All those applications are in. That grant approval process is moving along very well. We should know here within a couple days, actually, if we get the funding. All indications point toward yes, and if that is the case, then we'll move along with a very similar timeline to 10B and 10C, to where we would take it to approval. Here, our designs take them to approval within the next couple weeks. Take it to bid, get a bidder. Once we have our approved bidder, take that back to the funding agency. Once we get their approval, we will proceed with a groundbreaking in spring of 2025. So it potentially looks like next summer we will have 5 CSO projects working at one time.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, but the funding is there, the money is there, so strike while the iron's hot. Yeah. If there are any questions about the CSO, I can elaborate.
If you could make a list for us of streets that won't be closed. That would be ideal.
I can do that.
Okay. Mayor, I have 2 public hearings for you tonight. These were advertised in the Cumberland Times News. These hearings are for grants that were awarded to the city through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Block Grant Program. The city is required to conduct 2 public hearings as a condition of the grant award. The first public hearing is conducted prior to the submission of the grant application, and the second prior to the closeout of the grant. Hearings must take place in conjunction with a regularly scheduled meeting of the elected public officials of the grantee, the city of Frostburg. The purpose of the second hearings tonight is to provide the public with updates on the activities and accomplishments resulting from the use of grant funds. This first project is the Supply Dam Relining Project, and this was completed 8 years ago. So this is a matter of paperwork, so this grant can be closed out. It has been audited by CDBG, and this was one outstanding item, was to have this second report. So this city was awarded $404,000 through the Community Development Block Grant Program. The project involved the restoration of the dam reservoir. So this is the small reservoir right above the water treatment plant off of Rifle Range Road. The The project involved the restoration of the reservoir by sealing the concrete structure with an impervious liner and making other necessary concrete and joint repairs. This project received 2 construction bids, and the contract was awarded in August of 2015 to Carl Belt Incorporated in the amount of $606,250.75. The project was completed on schedule in the fall of 2015. However, in August of 2016, the contractor returned to make additional repairs as the liner was leaking. Those repairs were later inspected, and the city was satisfied with the results. I'll move on to the second one, and then if anyone has any public comment, they can just address which project they're speaking to. The second public hearing is in reference to the Frostburg Child Care Center project. The city was awarded $750,000 through the CDBG program to construct a building to be used for child care services. The project received 2 construction bids, and the contract was awarded in November 2023 to Daystar Builders Incorporated in the amount of $1.49 million. The construction contract to date stands at $1,503,352.65. In addition to the CDBG funds, the city is utilizing USDA rural development funds in the form of a congressional earmark of $531,718, and Allegheny County funded the project in the amount of $50,000. All remaining costs will come from the City of Frostburg's American Rescue Plan Act funding allocation, which is currently estimated at $286,000. The project was postponed and delayed to several weather and material issues. Construction is currently underway and is estimated to be completed at the end of July 2024. The Human Resources Development Commission, the nonprofit community action agency in Allegheny County that provides Head Start, is projected to start their early Head Start services upon completion, and their regular Head Start services later in August, consistent with the Allegheny County Public School calendar. At this time, I would like to invite public comment. If you wish to speak, please sign in at the sheet at the podium, state your name, and indicate which project you would like to comment on.
Any public comment on either of those proposals? Okay, it appears that that has been satisfied then.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Have we set the date for the ribbon cutting on that, or is that still sort of dependent on the actual completion date?
We have not set a date yet. I have been in contact. What started the proper etiquette would be that Congressman Trone is invited, and him being the highest ranking official, we would work around his calendar. I haven't been able to nail down a time with his office to schedule that, but I will circle back and see if we could have something scheduled later in August or early September.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Finished there. Moving on then to item 10 on the agenda, old business, parking.
Okay, Mayor, as we discussed at work session, I did meet with Commissioner Carter and Commissioner Grove, and then reviewed this map briefly with you this afternoon, or sometime today, this morning. Between Water Street and Bowery Street on Main Street, there are 91 parking spaces as delineated by the meter heads. Based on business feedback that was provided to Emily Weber in Public Works and Jamie Klink in the planner for the city and community development that went around and tried to speak to many business owners as possible, there was a handful of places around town that were identified to have 20-minute spaces. And so 9 meter heads have been identified. 9 spaces have been identified for that. Some would go on single meters. So those are indicated there by the blue dots. and then some would go on double-headed meters reserving 2 spaces for 20-minute parking, which would be the green dots. And then the remainder, or the 82 other spaces, would be 2-hour free parking. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions or comments on that. But I think based on the feedback I've received and what staff had heard previously, I think once we get the signage sorted out to reflect what this map has, it seems that all parties will be satisfied.
So generally speaking, then, these are, for the most part, these spaces would be either like on the end of a block to facilitate unloading or deliveries, or businesses that have frequent turnover.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and the 3 there clustered, or the 2 there, 3 spots clustered there, the green and the blue, that's right at the bump out across from St. Mike's below the Palace. So there's several businesses in there, Pet Ones, the pawn shop, where people are coming in, grabbing something, not typically the browsing type place. So.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this looks good. I hope we're able to get the signage out quickly, and it looks good, and I'm glad that people are going to be satisfied with it. Okay. Anything else under old business before we move on? Moving on then to item number 11, new business. We have a number of resolutions to consider.
Good evening again. Resolution 2024-36 is in reference to a couple reappointments to our public bodies. We do have one reappointment, that's Mr. William Detterman on the Historic District Commission, and Mr. Tom Buckman and Kevin Wagner on the Board of Zoning Appeals. All 3 have previously served, and they all have expressed an interest to be reappointed for additional 3-year terms. So, you know, the Historic District Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals, they follow 3-year terms. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I would ask for a motion in a second to approve Resolution 2024-36.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-36.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-36. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, as many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved.
All right, then moving into Resolution 2024-37. This is in reference to the annual report that was prepared for the Maryland Department of Planning. This was presented to you at your work session last week. And on Wednesday evening of last week, the Planning Commission did review this and approve this to be forwarded to you all for final acceptance. And if you all accept this, then we will go ahead and submit this to MDP.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-37.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-37. Any discussion on that? Any public comment? Hearing none, as many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved.
Thank you.
All right, I have a couple change orders and a contract award. The first one will be Resolution 2024-38, which is the approval of a change order for CSO Project Phase 10A. We talked about it. What we're basically doing is the initial design plan for this project was to reline an existing sewer that runs below Mountain Ridge High School under a wetland. We've since come up with a plan that will work, keep us out of the wetland. Instead of relining the existing sewer, we're just going to put in a whole new sewer, and it will actually end up being a cost savings to us, and in the long run, it'll give us easier maintenance. We don't have to go into the wetland to maintenance the sewer. Not only that, but we don't have to use the existing terracotta pipe. It's all new pipe that shouldn't have any cracks or divots or bellies in it. At this phase of the project, this will actually be a cost savings. It looks like we're going to get about a $24,000 credit because of not doing the lining and shifting to the new pipe where we already have an easement running along that side of the wetland. If there are any questions, we can dig into the engineering of it, but if not, I would ask for a motion in a second on Resolution 2024-38.
Make a motion we approve resolution 2024-38.
Second?
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-38. Any discussion from council on that? Any public comment on this resolution?
Good job on the cost saving.
Heck yeah.
Thank you.
That never happens. As many as are in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved.
Cool. The second one, Resolution 2024-39, is the award of the paving contract to the low bidder. Summer of 2024 paving, the low bidder was Ameriseal Contracting, an LLC. The low bid did come in at $154,280. The average bid was in the $175,000 to $180,000 range. The high bid was north of $210,000. So $154 is a good price. It is a lump sum contract, so the work that they're advertising is what will be paid for. There is no unit price basis for that. It's just, these are the streets we're paving, that's how much you said you can pave them for.
No cost plus.
Correct. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to elaborate. If not, I'd ask for a motion in a second on Resolution 2024-39.
I'll make a motion we approve Resolution 2024-39.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-39. Any further discussion from council? Any public comment on that? Lump sum, I like that. That's a good plan. As many as are in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved.
All right, my last one, Resolution 2024-40, which is the approval of a change order for the Mechanic Street parking lot project. With the initial design for the parking lot, we intended to save a portion of sidewalk just to try and keep costs down a little bit. However, in the process of building the parking lot, we found out that the grades for the existing sidewalk will not work with ADA compliance and keeping a 2% slope. Not to mention, we would have a fairly beat up old section of sidewalk in our brand new parking lot. The change order itself is for $7,949.20. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to go into it. But if not, I would ask for a motion and a second on Resolution 2024-40.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-40.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-40. Any comment from council on that? Any comment from the public? Yes. Yes, please.
Kelly Mears, live at 58 Linden Street. Grateful to be here. Wanted to make a comment on the note of the parking lot in Mechanic Street. Grateful for the council's consideration and ADA compliance and making sure that we're making smart, strategic fiscal decisions with this decision. Wanted to also appreciate the collaboration of both business owners and residents in the community on increasing additional parking in the area and doing so with good consideration. Wanted to float an idea that has been popular in just social communities as we've been chatting around parking options here in Frostburg, to encourage the council to consider options that allow us to utilize covered parking options with solar options in order to, awesome, happy to hear it, just to consider our just role as we look into a future facing climate crisis every day. Solar options are one of the many options that I hope that Frostburg continues to look into.
Yeah, we're going to get solar
covered
canopies
is
on
great.
that parking lot, also at the pool parking lot and the City Hall parking lot, like on Mall.
Yeah, and there is conduit in that new parking lot for that, so we've made, timing didn't work out that it could be constructed all at the same time, but the conduit is in place, so when we're ready for that, it will be there.
Awesome, happy to hear it.
And I'm really glad that we've had feedback from the public that is approving of that measure, so.
Absolutely.
Great to hear it.
Thanks,
Spread the
y'all.
word.
Oh, we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Comment on 2024-40? Hearing nothing else, then, as many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved. Thank you. Mrs. Jones.
So I have for your consideration Resolution 2024-41. This is an annual request from the Lions Club for a real estate tax abatement on their property. It's a storage building. The physical address is deemed to be Southeast Laurel Avenue. It's on the west end of town. The assessed value of this property is $33,900. The current year tax amount is $237.30. It's specifically identified as just district number 11, count 000819. So we would like to pass along this request from the Lions Club for the tax abatement. So I would request a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2024-41.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-41.
Second.
It's been duly moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2024-41. Any comment from council on that?
This is an annual request and approval. It's kind of pro forma at this point.
What do they use this facility for?
It is a storage facility,
Storage,
and I
okay.
believe that, is it Storybook Holiday?
Okay.
That stores a good bit of their supplies.
Santa Claus sleigh.
Oh,
Yeah, you have to stay on the
Don't
nice
get on the
list.
bad side of
No,
Santa Claus.
nice list, he's watching. Anything else from council on this? Any comment from the public? Hearing none, as many as in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Approved. Thank you. Next item then looks like discussion.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Typically, I don't come to you at council meeting with discussion items. I reserve that for work session. However, the timing of this is such that, and the magnitude of this is such that I wanted to bring it to your attention tonight. The city has received approximately $4 million in Appalachian Regional Commission Access Road grant funding for the roundabout project. To date, the city is approaching $1 million, not quite there yet, of that funding that has been allocated towards design costs. To fund design with additional monies with the ARC project, or ARC funding source, you have to go through a process to get more federal monies like reallocated from construction to design. And the last time we did that was in 2022, and State Highway, our local District 6 office, manages these ARC access road projects for us. ARC, once they award the funding to another federal agency or a state-linked federal agency. So we work with our local state highway office as well as federal highway officials within the state of Maryland. So in 2022, when we did the last amendment to the ARC to get additional funding, I found an email today that said this should carry you through to bidding. That has not happened, and what has happened is they've told us that additional work is needed to carry us through to design. This is a state highway approved design contractor that we're using. And I got that estimate last week, and it's for an additional $180,000. It's a lot of money. So there's a few other things at play. This project started in conjunction with a stronger university enrollment and a good prospect for the redevelopment of Center Street prior to 2020. A lot has changed since the pandemic. The construction costs have made Center Street seemingly cost prohibitive at the moment, and then university enrollments continue to suffer. Additionally, there's a concern that the remaining $3 million will not be sufficient for construction. Typically, design is supposed to be about 10% of a project. So based on that formula, this is a $10 million roundabout, but the engineers have assured us that it is about a $3 million project. In 2019, when we started this, the university, we felt that the university and the state highway would be able to chip in if there was a small budget shortfall. I don't think either of those are in the cards for us, most certainly not from Frostburg State. One of the reasons timing is of the essence is the city had been holding back a few $100,000 of the, not allocating a few $100,000 of the ARPA money as a reserve for if this roundabout came in over budget. Obviously, if we paid for the $180,000, that would eat up half or more of that money. And then that would leave us with little of a contingency to fund if the construction costs came in higher. There's additional work that's not even included in that construction estimate for utility relocates. There's some vertical realignment that needs done on Park Avenue. And there's a huge utility pole that needs relocated that every overhead utility provider is connected to. So there's a lot of costs. And so I'm not saying to give up on the roundabout project, but I think completing the roundabout project within the getting it out to bid within the next 6 months is maybe not a realistic goal and the best use of the city's resources.
Especially given the bulk of work we will already have next summer as well.
So I wanted to get your feedback on if you were okay with temporarily pausing on the roundabout project. I've spoken with Allegheny County Economic Development and their ARC manager at the county level. I have not spoken to like the Maryland ARC person yet. But I have spoken to the county, and I've spoken to FSU, and I spoke to State Highway as well today. Our District 6 engineer, she's looking into some things for me in terms of reviewing the additional cost estimate from the engineer as well as reviewing the plans and seeing what their cost estimate, the State Highway opinion of the cost estimate would be. So I should have more information for you on work session in August, but I think it would be my recommendation to not hold ARPA funds to be a gap or cover a shortfall with the roundabout project. We could look for funding elsewhere, extend the project out further, or ultimately decide to do something else. I don't think, other than a few engineers at State Highway, I don't think I've heard anyone really excited about this project. So obviously when there's a lot more kids living off campus, there's a lot more traffic through that intersection. It was more warranted. And it does make the Center Street project more attractive. It does beautify that intersection coming into town. I mean, there's a lot of merits to the project. Roundabouts are always safer than traditional intersections. But if you're agreeable to not holding up ARPA money to cover a shortfall in the construction budget / paying for additional design, that would allow staff to begin to prioritize how to spend the remaining ARPA funds, because all of that funding needs to be obligated by December 31st of this year. And it's going to take a little bit of work to obligate and, for the city staff to present options for you, and then you guys to prioritize what you want and how you want to see that remaining funding spent. So taking this out of the equation, I think, will make things simpler and let us not be pushing the deadline of December 31st. So
About the remaining $3 million, is there a deadline by which we have to use it before we give it back? Or I mean,
I've heard 10 years. If the city knows that they aren't going to use it and they can't use it in the city, it would be right to give it back. However, I think Hayden and I would try our darndest to make sure that that funding stays allocated to the city of Frostburg.
We could
Whether-
reallocate the use?
Potentially,
Wow, that's a lot of latitude.
within the confines of what access road funding can be used
Okay.
for, which is strictly tied to economic development.
Okay.
But
I agree with what Hayden said a minute ago. I mean, we're already going to have 5 CSO projects going next year, so I think we're going to be stretched thin as far as the resources we have and contractors
Yes.
and everything else. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with all that coming next year, that's, we're gonna shut down another road if we don't need to do that, especially with, Columbia Gas and all they're gonna be doing too, so, yeah.
And I think Hayden has been managing this project from an engineering side, but our like state highway liaisons that we had when he started aren't there anymore. So maybe state highway can be some leverage into getting prices under control, but we'll see. But it's
Bear in mind that these are not our design engineers either. That this was not us picking this design engineer and saying, oh yeah, you're probably expensive, but we want you anyways. These are the design engineers we are beholden to because we're beholden to the state highway approval process. So we were kind of stuck with it.
and they've been good to work with.
Yeah, they have been fun to work with, they're just expensive.
Extraordinarily. So.
But you like the design?
For now.
That is a wonky intersection.
yeah. I'd like for us to, if we're not going to pursue the roundabout, I would like for us to think about, and we talked about this at work session and other places, that alley that comes out, I think, causes a lot of problems. I'd like for us to think about something, a way to reconfigure or do something about the alley. Especially if eventually that block of Center Street's going to go two-way, that will even
Yes.
add volume. So the alley creates most of the problem, I think, there.
It should be an easy fix.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on what I'm seeing, hearing, I'll have an update for you if I learn anything more at the August work session, but then staff will work on offering more of a final look at the ARPA funds and recommendations on the remaining allocations at August meeting.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Okay. Nothing else under new business then, so we'll move on to item 12. Chief Costello.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you. I have the report for the Police Department for the month of June 2024. We had 485 incidents, and as a comparison, in June of 23, we had 546 incidents. As always, a diverse array of activities, 13 arrests, 13 well-being checks, 13 assist other agencies, 25 requests for a police officer, 15 follow-ups, 25 disturbances, 86 traffic stops, and 2 DWI arrests. I like to focus on the positive. I think our community has a number of wonderful community outlets that we try to tap right into and be accessible. I do think from time to time it's important to highlight serious incidents and criminal activity. So we had a very serious arrest in June. If you saw, we had an individual on East Main Street shortly after 6 in the morning, discharging a firearm in the backyard, dancing, making erratic statements, basically shooting at a woman in her direction. So our officers acted very swiftly, placed the subject under arrest without incident. We obtained a search warrant from the circuit court, searched his residence, and secured additional evidence. So I thought our officers did an absolutely outstanding job, and I think it's a good reminder of the dangers that our police officers do face every day. So we thank you always for your support and encouragement in our efforts to keep Frostburg safe. Positive news, Derby Day went really well. We had our Frostburg City Police Derby car in there again. We didn't get super far in the race, but we had a good time. It's all in good fun and a fun opportunity for, it was driven by the nephew of one of our police officers, First Sergeant Curry's nephew, so that was a nice family component. Pirates Ahoy was just the other day on Wednesday. Lemonade with the Law was here. I understand preliminarily from the CLC folks that it was the largest one in a couple years, so that was really great, very positive thing. We've hired our new police cadet that we talked about at the work session. So Peyton Ritchie started with us yesterday. He's getting acclimated. We're assigning him jobs to do, and we are just as eager to have him moving forward as he is. So thank you all for your support and allowing us to hire him. We do have 2 police officers in the academy in Hagerstown. We started with 3, we're down to 2. It is a very tough academy, and we're rooting both of them on. They're doing a good job, so I think they're through the toughest part. Grant applications, we have an application in to renew our school resource officer grant. That's not our main SRO program, that's a supplemental grant that the state offers us to allow additional officers to provide supplemental coverage in the schools and add to what we can provide with the school resource officer program. So that's been a routine grant. We expect that to be approved again, and looking forward to that this fall and school year. We also have a grant application into the state to make the annual payments on our body cameras. So we're waiting to hear back. We would anticipate that to be approved. We certainly hope so. That's pretty much the latest. If there's anything else you'd like me to elaborate on, I'd be glad to. Otherwise, that would conclude my report.
Thank you for elaborating on the incident the way that you did, and obviously for everything that your folks do over there. I agree. So I heard earlier today from Sarah that puts on the CLC, and she said there were 221 kids that registered for Pirates Ahoy. So it was a huge group.
On a hot day.
I think the most popular part of was the air conditioning.
Yes. One of the many luxuries we offer here at the FPD.
You're darn right.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Commissioners.
Anything else for Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Certainly,
Okay.
Mayor.
Moving on then to item 13, open public comments. This is the time period for citizens of the city of Frostburg or anyone in the general public to offer comment. Anything? Okay. If there's nothing else to come before the city, we then are adjourned. Thank you all.